There are many ways that you can explain Agile to people. You can call it a methodology, a mindset, an iterative approach to project management, and many more things. And you can start talking about Scrum and Kanban and all of that. But I like to keep it simple and say that it is exactly what it says it is. It is the ability to accelerate and decelerate and to change directions, because that is really the essence of it and exactly what people need to keep in mind at all times to be successful in applying it. It may sound very trivial, but you would be surprised about how many times people forget about that very elementary definition, which is the actual essence of it. And they learn all about the fancy buzzwords and the details of the different strategies and methodologies related to Agile. But then subsequently in practice, while applying everything they learned, they still fail to be Agile simply because they don't keep focus on the actual key objective of being Agile. Agile is what you need to be if you want to move forwards towards a goal that is not well defined, a moving target. And to do that in a complex context, with a lot of moving parts and unknowns that you will discover and you will have to deal with on the way over there. In that kind of situation, the worst thing that you can actually do is to try to precisely plan everything down to the smallest detail before you get started. It will be a total waste of time, because by the time you finish the plan, or as soon as you actually start executing that plan, you will find that many of the assumptions you made were simply wrong. Or suddenly you will come across obstacles that you did not anticipate. And the beautiful plan on which you spent so much of your precious time starts falling apart immediately. So it was wasted time to try to make it in the first place. And you may be the fastest kid on the block. If you run off in a set direction towards a goal that suddenly moves, or unexpected obstacles come your way and you cannot stop and change directions, you do have a problem. You have to be Agile. I like to compare it to crossing a busy 5-lane road in Hanoi or Mumbai to reach a friend on the other side, and remind people to keep that mental picture in mind. You can stand at the side of the road, watch the upcoming traffic, and try to plan a trajectory all the way across in your head, all the way to the other side, and try to do that for a very long time, and then still fail miserably each time again you execute and you try to leverage your speed and run that exact trajectory that you just planned in your head. You are simply much better off taking baby steps forward. Face the upcoming traffic, re-evaluate your position and your next steps continuously. Sometimes you will have to unfortunately wait for a car and let it pass by, and another car will slow down and let you go through, or it will circle around you. And you also have to keep an eye on your friend on the other side, because if he moves up or down the road, you will start adjusting your course. And eventually that approach, the Agile approach, is simply the most efficient way to get where you want to go, considering the nature of the environment that you are facing. Where to start? Because introducing Agile is really a very big challenge for any organization. Definitely not to be underestimated. This is a major shift in mindset, ways of working, tooling, processes, and much more. And therefore, it's also very much about changing a lot of habits that have been around for a very long time. And that always requires a lot of time and energy. Truly being Agile, in the sense of what it is meant to be, is a major undertaking. And this while at the same time actually the need for agility is only growing continuously. Whereas it started typically within the confines of software development, it now applies to entire organizations and all kinds of activities, and even beyond that, as it expands into the relationships between different companies. But rather than maybe talking about the various very specific typical challenges that one faces on the journey towards increasingly more agility, I would like to maybe take the opportunity here to point out some more fundamental pitfalls. First of all, methodology is defined by the nature of a project. As we mentioned, Agile is the most efficient way of tackling projects in complex, convoluted circumstances. Way too often, people believe that any project can be managed with any methodology, whether that be Agile or a more classic waterfall approach, for example. And therefore, those people believe that the choice of methodology is simply a matter of what you prefer or what you're used to, and it's not. Methodology is defined by the nature of a project. It is not a choice or preference. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. Or to put it differently, you will never cross that busy road in Hanoi with a perfectly executed waterfall plan. You know, it's like saying that if you have to drive a nail into a piece of wood, that you can choose between a hammer and a screwdriver. They are both tools, that's correct. But a nail is a completely different job as compared to a screw. And choosing a screwdriver to drive a nail into the wood, simply on the basis of saying that you are used to a screwdriver and you never used a hammer before, even if you never used a hammer before, you are probably better off using that hammer to drive that nail into the wood. You will probably be more successful as compared to using your trusted screwdriver, even if this happens to be the very first time that you use a hammer. So methodology is not really a matter of choice. It is simply defined by the nature of a project or activity. A nail requires a hammer, a screw requires a screwdriver, whether you like it or not. Secondly, it is also important to understand that nothing is going to change the reality of the nature of a project that demands Agile. Not the performance and commitment of your staff or your external partners. Not the contractual terms and conditions that you negotiate with the involved parties. Not the manpower that you put on it, nor anything else of that kind. The nature of a project is what it is. And all the things I just said, they are of course still relevant. Contracting, manpower, and all those things. But never to the extent that they can be an alternative for the need to deal with certain projects in an agile manner. Again, the nail is a nail, the screw is a screw, and nothing will change that. And it's a simple fact that you need the hammer to drive the nail into the wood if you want it to be done properly and efficiently. Dedication, manpower, contractual clauses, or anything else, nothing will change anything about that. In conclusion, I would say that's what you really need to remember in the first place. The fact that given a finite number of resources and a given timeline, and knowing that you are dealing with complex circumstances, the ability to execute Agile is what will deliver the best possible results. And that's an undeniable fact. And nothing is really going to change much about that. So you may as well embrace it, even if you're not experienced at it yet. And note that Agile is obviously not a guarantee that you will like the outcome of a project. That outcome may actually still not be what you wished for. But fact of the matter is still, with an Agile execution, the results will be better as compared to a more classic non-Agile approach. If the outcome is not what you wished for, if that's the case, then likely something different is the cause of that. By the way, a very, very common one for this kind of projects would be simply that you had the wrong expectations from the outset. You largely underestimated what it really takes to accomplish what you had in mind. But that's a whole different topic, and we'll address that in another episode. Just to conclude, Agile is the way forward because it increasingly applies to ever more aspects of everything around us. And as we mentioned, there is no way around that. It is simply the nature of how things are. So you have to embrace it and aim at being as proficient at it as possible. But then again, it is by far not an easy thing. And my first advice would always be, start by making sure that everybody involved really and truly understand what agility is essentially about. The ability to accelerate, decelerate, and change directions at any time. And also why agility is an absolute must. It's not a preference, it's not a choice. The traffic in Mumbai, it is what it is. And agility is the most efficient way to get across to your friend. Only then you can start your journey and learn about the various techniques and tools and all of that, and grow to become increasingly more successful in generating very tangible incremental value with your projects in that new data-driven era.